On this episode of MALadjusted, Wade tells me about how they gave Shinji a second dad in the rebuilds. I picked up a new show, and we talk about more stuff that is not anime and pretend we still have an anime podcast. Get ready.
Get set.
Go!
Go! What was maladjusted?
Yeah. So, you got all caught up on seasonals.
Oh yeah, I caught up on every episode of the 2 shows that I'm watching.
Okay. So, go ahead. What are your thoughts on what you've been watching so far then?
We'll start with Dragon Maid.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time we talked about it was on the first episode.
I think we talked about it a couple times.
Talked about it a little bit, yeah. But on the first episode, I think I'd watched up to like episode 3. So there's been a couple new episodes since then. Did you watch the one that came out like yesterday?
Yeah, I'm totally current.
Okay. There's still no, it's funny. There's nothing really like new that I really thought was different from the first couple episodes or even the first season. It's just, still the comedy show interspersed with those weird like backstories that aren't really that interesting. Like there was like half of an episode that was dedicated to this like Elma and like Kobayashi like backstory.
It was Elma and Toru backstory.
Oh, I said Kobayashi. I meant to say Toru. Well, she took the last name Kobayashi, so I'm still technically correct.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's still some like really good bits in there. I really laughed super hard at when in the newest one, Kana just like finds like a little dude from like the other world, just a little fairy guy.
She finds a fairy who is like this tiny mustachioed like jacked guy but with wings.
It's really funny. I love Kana, that show, just because remember the first season when she just eats bugs?
Yeah, I honestly half expected her to just eat the fairy.
I thought she was gonna eat the dude. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It would have been really funny. But
yeah, that's Dragon Maid. I don't really have much more to say about it. I think it's just a funny show. It's kind of nothing. You kind of just like look at it and you're like, that was fun. It obviously looks really, really good. There's a lot of attention to detail put in a lot of the set pieces. It still it's doing the KyoAni thing where like all the background characters look like they could be main characters for like no reason. There was a scene in the newest episode when like Elma and Toru are just like talking, like they just meet each other in the street, and in the background there's all sorts of shit just going on. Like there's these like old ladies that are just like walking with a stroller. These girls carrying this like big fucking like traditional fan. There's like this guy who walks by who's got a really crazy outfit.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of flavor in like the in the world there.
A lot of flavor. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about Dragon Maid. What I will have more to say about is Sonny Boy. I've caught up on that, and that show is crazy.
That show is crazy. One last thing I guess I did want to say about Dragon Maid is like, I think with this latest episode, I'm really starting to tell like the difference in like the direction between the first and the second season.
Yeah,
because I don't know, it's not like necessarily missing the mark, but it is definitely just shifted in a slightly different direction, which is fine. It's a little bit more focused on like these individual little scenarios that play out in each episode. Like it'll have just like tiny little stories within each episode. I guess the original series had that, but it feels like they're much more contained and much more separate. Whereas the original series, it felt a little bit more continuous and a little bit more kind of connected across each episode, which is fine. It's just a different way of like doing gags, because if you're adapting a gag manga, there's like a lot of different ways you can do it. And I think this way is fine. It's just noticeably different than the first season. Kind
Yeah,
of
very
the
noticeably
way that
different.
like each episode will have a different, because like with this episode, it's very clear like what each section is. Like there's the section with Luca and Fafnir at the very beginning of the episode, and then there's the section with Kobayashi and Toru and then there's the section with Kanna and Saikawa, and they're just totally distinct mini episodes within the episode that don't really kind of connect that
It,
much.
it kind of reminds me of another comedy show made by Kyoto Animation, Nichijou, directed by the same guy.
Yeah, what a
So
shocker.
I think a lot of that would make sense. The
Hmm.
directing style is like very similar to how Nichijou is directed, and yeah,
I think it's still good, but yeah, it's definitely different. And I think if you really loved the structure of the first season, it's gonna be noticeable that this is not the same.
yeah.
But still funny, and that's the point of a comedy show. So that's all I have to say about that. Do you know what happens in Sonny Boy?
I know what happens in Sonny Boy.
Yeah? What happened?
Uh, they got sent to a realm.
They did get sent to a realm, yeah. I think this last episode was so like visually cool.
Yeah, it just looked amazing.
Mm-hmm. The little scene where they're in like the movie theater, like the projector room, and he like turns the knob and the entire like show
The
goes out of
entire fucking
focus.
show goes blurry is so cool.
Yeah, and like Rajdhani is there like freaking out, like
He's
he
losing his mind.
because his whole world went blurry and just like turns the knob back. It's just so fun, and I like the new dog character.
Dude, the new dog character from the future who's 5,000 years old is such a crazy point. I was going to bring up the dog character and that you would like him because he's voiced by Kendra Osuda.
Yeah, my favorite
Your favorite
Japanese male voice actor.
actor. I was a little caught off guard by the this wasn't in the newest episode, but just the presence of like the like teacher. Like she just sort of came out of left field and was just there now. Like
Yeah, she's there and she's there to cause problems.
she didn't cause problems. Think it's really cool how her visual design is like completely unlike every other character in the show on
Mm-hmm.
like a few different levels. Like the biggest thing is obviously like her eye, but she's also just has this like this presence. I think Sonny Boy is really adept at depicting characters in ways that sort of reflect their narrative importance in that current moment.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically with like their usage of light, like characters will often be shown that are like not in the foreground of the shot, but are lit like much brighter than characters closer to the shot, but are those characters are like grayed out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it just does that. And I think it's like a really cool thing. And the teacher Aki gets that treatment a lot. But
Although, although in this episode we do the dog character. If the dog is to be trusted, the dog tells the rest of the cast. I don't know if you picked up on that, but he says that that can't be the teacher because
yeah,
he says according to the rules only students can get like a drift. So
yeah, I was gonna bring that
there's
up, but I
a bit of mystery as to like what's going on with her, which I like.
yeah,
She has like some kind of, she obviously has like ulterior motives, like she's manipulating uh you know several of the kids into like trying to hunt down Nagara and uh trying to convince them that it's a lost cause, they're never going to get back home, which does seem to be reinforced by kind of, I guess, the big, I guess it's a somewhat of a twist in this episode, which is delivered by the principal, which again, according to the dog character, is God.
yeah,
Uh,
a little bit of a
bit of a shock.
what?
Yeah, evidently, from what I gathered watching the episode, they're kind of like they are alternate versions of themselves now that are not like the correct versions. They're like a branching timeline that's like different.
Yeah, but I don't know what that like means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means yet. Uh
Yeah,
because we get the revelation that the main like girl character, the transfer student, she's dead in the like real world, in like quotes.
yeah,
So what does that mean? What does it mean that they are adrift now? Like what how does the principal play into this? Who's Aki Sensei? Like there's a lot of questions going on while still feeling like we're kind of like getting a more coherent plot going, which I really like. I'm very
yeah.
interested to see where it goes from here.
One thing I will point out is that right before they like hit the like real world, the world they came from, um, and Nozomi is like reaching out for the light. The principal goes like, "You are no longer needed," and like snaps, and she's at that point she's dead. So
Oh,
presumably, if she's dead, right, like she could theoretically like go back, right, and take her place because there's no one there taking her place already.
maybe.
So maybe she's like solved it and she can go back. It was like the implication of that, but it could also be something completely different. Like
Yeah.
I could see like that being interpreted in any number of ways. But maybe the goal is of the show is to have all of your alternate selves like die or whatever, and whatever significance that would have.
Yeah, I've got no clue. Maybe I mean there's like a lot of different ways it can cuz like the character Hoshi, the that like little twink with the star on his face.
Yes,
I love that guy, by the way. That's
that
my
guy
favorite
sucks.
character. He sucks, but he's so cool. Um, Hoshi obviously has been hearing like the voice of God, the principal, this whole time, and I guess like his idea was that he was going to like try to safeguard everybody, protect everybody, to take them somewhere else. I don't know what that's
Yeah,
gonna play out as. Uh, but there's like it's really cool. There's like factions and there's you know a lot of different characters and it doesn't feel as like messy as I thought it would with like 39 characters they said it was going to have that are all going to be like
yeah,
actual characters, which again, not all of them are like terribly developed or anything like that, but at least they, you can recognize them when you see them. Uh yeah, I'm just super intrigued. I was worried that it might just like be a nothing show that just is confusing
was
on
weird.
purpose.
Yeah,
But this last
this season
episode
was.
really kind of has me hooked.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned that Hoshi was your favorite character. Take a guess at what my favorite character is.
Oh, the monkey that plays baseball.
No, that guy is tight though.
Is it the baseball guy though? I can't remember his name.
No, it's not Cap.
Oh, okay, right, it is Cap. Who is it?
It's Mizuho. I think Mizuho is tight.
Mizuho is really cool. Yeah,
I thought she was like not gonna be as important as she ended up being, but nah, she's like on a like she's like a main role, like very deeply connected with like I don't know Nagara and Nozomi. I thought it was just gonna be like Nagara and Nozomi show, and that
I thought it was
most of the other
too.
characters wouldn't be that important. But Mizuho's in there, Rajdani's in there, like
Dude, I Rajdani might be my second favorite character. He's so
Rajdani's
fun.
so sick. He's such a cool character.
He's just like a guy whose superpower is to make apps.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and dude, I love when this is a little tangential, but I love when shows like this that are like so caught up in being like artsy and weird and allegorical or what have you, just like stop caring for a moment to do something that's like fun. Like that whole part when Nagara and Mizuho are like going out to solve the like guys in trapped in the hikikomori skirt, like
Mm-hmm.
when he just like gets the dog apps and they just do that crazy like sequence where they like raise the like curtain up and there's all sorts of fucked up like effects going on and
Yeah, it's just
like
cool.
there's just like weird looking dogs. It's such a cool scene and it's like I just love when they stop and are like we're gonna animate something that's fun because we can.
Mm-hmm. It's really enjoyable.
Sonny Boy is really good so far and just I so hope they don't fumble this one. I'm still a little rocky on it being a 12 episode run, but I'm definitely way more confident in them delivering something really good in 12 episodes like before than I was before.
Yeah. If you haven't watched, they did put out a new PV for it,
I've
which
not seen it.
it looks really cool. It actually was the thing that like pushed me over the edge on officially being excited about the rest of this show and like believing in it. So
Mm,
they got me
I'll have
with
to
that one.
watch that one.
Yeah, it's check it out. They uploaded it just like, again within the past week. So
Ooh,
definitely take a look when you can.
give a big look.
Yeah,
You wanna
that's
talk about your seasonals?
yeah, I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, I did pick up a new show just today, actually.
Oh,
So I'll first talk about, kind of the other two shows that I'm watching. Obviously, last episode I talked about The Detective Is Already Dead, and I was kind of like, yeah, a little bit uneasy about like, more flashback episodes. But I did watch this one, and I think at this point I'm kind of just like okay with it because I think the way that the story is being told here is, I think, less about like maybe one, consistent narrative following this character. And I feel like it's trying to more just like I guess like present all the little stories that this character has gone through, including stories from their past leading into stories in their present. Uh, it's still really dumb, not gonna lie. It's like phenomenally stupid, but this last episode, we follow this character with amnesia, this like little girl character who insists that she's 17, but I guess there's a bit where
mm.
she doubts that she's 17. She's like, why am I saying that? I don't really look it. But they go around and they have a little mystery, and then there's like a weird, a little bit of a weird, like almost a sex scene in the show.
Huh?
Yeah. Like they get drunk in a hotel room, and like Siesta is like bouncing on the bed, and like her boobles are just like, the camera locks in on it, and it's just like strange, and I don't think it needed to be there. And I wish that people making anime would grow up and stop being 12 years old for once in their life. But
Booble.
I can't really say much about this show right now because, again, nothing has really happened. Um, that's not a flashback, and the flashback kind of doesn't matter because you already know that Siesta ends up dead because it's in the name of the show. So, maybe later it'll get actually interesting and not just like stuff that I'm consuming that's just like flying past my eyeballs, not registering. Uh, as far as the Aquatope on White Sand is concerned, the latest episode was a beach episode, which is
Oh.
fun because they're kind of always on the beach because
Oh, yeah, true. They are in an aquarium.
they're in an aquarium that's like on the coast. So it's like, all right, but I had an unfortunate realization watching this episode.
You're getting baited?
I'm getting baited. These girls are not gonna kiss.
Damn, what a surprise.
Yeah, because I've realized where they're gonna go with it. Where they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
go with it is they're gonna be like, I'm just like your sister. Like I'm like a big sister now, and they're gonna go in that direction. And I got tricked. Not gonna
Oh, you
lie.
got tricked. So you done?
I'll stick through. I'll keep watching. I'm not hating it. You know, I got tricked. I got baited. But I'm not disliking what I'm seeing. It's still like fine. You know, the characters are, you know, fun, and the setting is nice. I like, you know, fish too, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm all right with fish. We're on good terms.
Yeah. They do have, there's one of the characters. One of the characters is like, he's his whole bit is like he doesn't like girls, but he'll get drunk and like fawn over like the male best friend of one of the female leads. So it's like funny there, you know, it's funny because
Mm-hmm.
he's he's homosexual. Uh
Yeah, that's the joke.
that's the joke. Um but you know, he's cool. He likes fish too. I don't know. That's kind of all that was going on with that episode. It was just like they go to the beach. You know, one of the main characters, Kukuru, she's the character with blue hair. In case you look at the main characters,
Mm-hmm.
um, she's all stressed out because you know she is worried about the aquarium closing. She's thinking that you know she can't afford to be wasting time you know, messing around playing on the beach when she should be working. But her grandpa's like, no, 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 go have fun, you know. And they go and they have like a little bonding moment, and it's fine. Uh, it's just it's a calming show. It's a meditation type anime where I'm just watching and I'm relaxing.
Yeah, it's chill.
Mm-hmm. The new show that I picked up though,
Mm-hmm.
which I did just pick up today. I watched the first two episodes. Not 100% on if I'm going to continue watching, but I watched the first two episodes of Fena, Pirate Princess, which, if you'll remember from news stories a while back, it is an anime that is done by Production IG, that is licensed jointly, and you know, I guess partially funded by Crunchyroll and Adult Swim. So it
Uh-huh.
is being broadcast, subtitled in Japanese language on Crunchyroll, and there's a dub being broadcast on Adult Swim. And the
Interesting.
Japanese television broadcast is going to be, I guess, in October.
I see.
And I watched it kind of expecting like nothing because you know, I'm like, okay, this is not that like engaging of a concept. It's like girl pirate, okay. But, you know, the concept itself is still not like super engaging, but I will say visually this show looks great. Like it's very bright. The animation is expressive and looks like they put a lot of care into it. The character designs are, you know, very fun, and you know they look happy. Like it looks like these people were happy when they were drawing these characters. Uh, the overall plot itself so far is it's whatever. Like this girl, she was lost at sea and ended up on like an island after her royal father was attacked at sea, and uh, she's been growing up like in a brothel, and you know it's going to be her first night working as one of the girls in the brothel, and she doesn't want to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's like planning to escape and planning to escape, and then you know just as she's about to you know have her first customer or whatever, uh you know two men that are of like her father's kingdom come and like save her, and she's saved with the assistance of these like mysterious like ninja type dudes as well, because like I think it's supposed to take place in like an alternate history or something, because it's very clearly like European. These are European guys, uh, but there's also like I guess a secret island of Japanese that like serve the royal family that the main character Fena is from, and she decides to journey out with them to solve a mystery of like this like strange glass box that her father left her. Uh, so it's a pretty like standard, setup for like the kind of show where they just have fun action adventures. Very
Yeah.
basic. I might keep watching because again, it does look very good. I like watching it. The humor is a little bit maybe intended for younger audiences than me, but the visuals are good enough where I'll be engaged, hopefully for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Sounds cool.
But that's all I have as far as seasonals. I didn't. I didn't actually watch any other anime aside from the seasonals, and I did watch one other thing that is an anime, but I'll save that for later.
Yeah.
So, anything else you wanted to talk about that you watched?
Uh, I didn't really watch any other non-seasonal stuff for the most part. We'll get into what I did watch a little later, but non-seasonals. We can talk about Legend of Polka, and I finished rewatching season 1 of K-On!, but I don't really have much to say about it that we didn't already cover in the last episode. We've kind of covered K-On! Pretty thoroughly in the last one. So
You made your pitch, which
and you
I thought about watching. I'll be honest. I did think about it pretty hard, but I didn't get around to doing it, and I might still watch it. I'll definitely let you know.
we'll see. Maybe we'll talk about K-On! Again at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really, really interested in hearing us talk about K-On!, you gotta go watch the last episode. I'm sorry, but we'll hit the weekly tradition. We'll talk about Legend of Polka, the classic. I watched the newest episode. This one was pretty good. I liked it a fair amount. She basically, the whole conceit of the episode was that the assistant Izutsu, she decided to fire, and she asked Twitter for like replacement people and to like give them their pitch as to why they should be an assistant. And there were just all sorts of people just saying absurd shit. Like there would be a dude who was like, "Yeah, my feet are like springs, and I can jump up to 50 feet vertically." It was just like some absurd shit like that. At the end of the episode, she's like, "Look, Izutsu, I take it back. You can stay." But it had a lot of really funny bits. It didn't really linger too long on anything. The idea wasn't stupid like a lot of the other ones have been recently. I mean, it's a little stupid, but it's like a funny stupid. I really enjoyed this episode of Legend of Polka. Um, it was funny.
Can I just bring up regarding Hololive VTuber Omaru Polka, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the the original song they uploaded this week?
The original song they uploaded this week was insane.
It is so funny.
It is literally like a shit post. Like there's the everything about it is obnoxious and like annoying. She
Ugly,
says
like
she says like one thing like over and over and over and over and over again, and it's like not even a full word. Like she just goes pop 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 pop. Like
it's so sick.
it's so stupid. It's like a pop team epic like sort of adjacent like just thing that is bad on purpose sort of production, and it's sick.
Yeah, it's really fun. I would highly advise watching it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an acquired taste, but it's a good watch. It's really funny. Um, but yeah, I really haven't watched anything else that we'll talk about right now.
Okay.
But I'm sure by the title that I picked for this episode and by the thumbnail, you will have guessed what that is by now.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any news for us?
I don't have news really. I looked over like news websites and stuff. It's a slow week. I don't think there's really much of anything that I necessarily have a take on. But
All right.
you might have a
So
couple things.
I will hard carry this one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, wait. Do you want to talk about your thing? Or do we want to save that one?
Well, I'll save it. We'll save it.
All right, we'll save it. But yeah, I'll hard carry. This isn't anime news. We're still cheating, and we're talking about HoloLive. But a lot of stuff came out from the stuff that we talked about in the last episode, the Kaon one, where we were talking about all these new things that the HoloLive production company seemed to be getting up to that weren't really too clear on what they were. But then, as if to make us look stupid, they immediately elaborated on what everything was.
Right.
The most interesting of which is a new HoloLive English generation.
Woohoo!
That's what all those weird things were about. They haven't debuted yet, but we've seen all the character designs. They're gonna be debuting on the 22nd of August. So that's in 2 days as of recording. It'll probably get uploaded tomorrow. So it'll probably be tomorrow.
Look forward to it.
Or maybe it would have already happened by the time you listen to this. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But the designs are all done by the character designer for like Fate Grand Order.
Mm-hmm.
Or character designers for Fate Grand Order. I don't think
because
there's
they have a lot.
one.
They have a lot.
Yeah, they have a lot, but they're all like Fate Grand Order character designers. And my initial impressions, usually whenever a new member comes out, their design has to grow on me a little bit, especially recently, because I think a lot of them are pretty over designed, and I think this is especially true of this generation. When you look at them, there's just so much going on visually, and their designs kind of clash. Obviously, they're all made by completely different artists.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of fine because they stand on their own merits 9 times out of 10, and the designs somehow manage to feel consistent eventually. I especially, though, do like the design of the like rat one.
I was gonna say I like the rat girl.
Hakus Bales.
They have silly names.
They have very silly names. I don't really know how you shorten them. Like there's Orochrony, which is like a very timey sounding name, and she is like her like backstory is like she's like a time thing. But like, were you just gonna start calling her Crony? Like,
yeah, I got no clue.
Yeah, a lot of these are gonna be tough to find nicknames, but I've been surprised before by good nicknames for stupid names.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these characters are probably going to really shine when they get an alternate outfit that makes them look normal. A lot of the like Gen 1 girls I also felt had the same problem of being a little over designed, but once they got their alternate costumes, those are like way more down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
And felt a lot better in my mind. Like Ina's little like outfit with the hat is like way better than her weird like bodysuit thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of personalities they all have, because that's really the important part.
Yeah, the whole like I didn't even read like because they have like a big like lore page. And
I read almost none of it.
There's no shot I'm reading it. Like
I read like the first sentence and was like, all right, that's the backstory. I don't really need it. But they tried to push this lore thing, and it's like there's no way anyone's caring. It's not important. You can't make it important.
They're streamers.
Yeah.
The important thing is that if they're funny or if they're entertaining.
The other thing that we mentioned last week in regards to HoloLive and their projects was we talked about HoloLive Error, and we were talking about how that was like a horror project that it was completely unclear what it meant or what it was going to be.
No idea.
Was it going to be like a web series? Was it going to be like a game? Was it going to be like a movie or some shit and like a manga? We didn't know. But we did end up finding out, and as it turns out, it is a game.
Woohoo!
It's just a horror game.
That makes the most sense out of like all those.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. They showed a very short demo. It was not really much happened, and nothing that I think that really stood out to me. I'm not a big fan of the horror genre, but it just felt to me like every other like independent like Japanese horror game that pops off, but maybe just like a little bit more sanitized, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll find a way to make it like fun with like, they'll probably jam pack it full of like Hololive references.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably won't play it.
Yeah,
I don't really have much interest in playing it.
I'm not a horror gamer, so
Yeah, I don't really derive much enjoyment from it, but maybe I don't know if it's really good. Fuck it, but I don't think it will be. I think it'll be fine.
mhm.
Other than that, I really also couldn't find any like proper anime news. There was a little bit about uh fucking I can't remember the name of the guy. Bell, who's doing Bell.
Mamoru Hosoda.
Mamoru Hosoda. There was a little bit about that, just like making an obscene amount of money.
Yeah, it's
But
stacking paper to the ceiling.
it's stacking paper straight to the ceiling, and I've only heard good things. So I'm excited to have that in a watchable format.
Yeah, someday.
Yeah. Other than that, I think it might be time for the main event. What do you think, James?
Yeah, go ahead. You watched a particular highly anticipated anime film production this week.
I did. Um, you might have heard about it. It's a little series called Neon Genesis Evangelion. Uh, Recently, the release of the English subtitled like the Blu-ray of the new movie of the Rebuild series, Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0. You cannot something I don't remember, but I'm just gonna call it 3.0 plus 1.0.
Right.
But it came out. I watched it uh, when 3.0 came out. I watched that too, and I really, really, really did not like 3.0. I thought that it was extremely antithetical to like everything that Evangelion up to this point like was.
Mm.
There was just a lot of stuff that happened that was really stupid. Like Kaworu came back for a really ham-fisted and dumb reason. Misato was basically just like not even like a character anymore. Shinji like didn't make that much sense as like a character. And the struggle that 3.0 plus 1.0 had to face immediately that really tempered my expectations and made me not really have that much hope is that it had to roll with all the absurd things that 3.0 decided to do. And it had to somehow find a way to make those work. And I felt like it really didn't have any way that it could work. And upon watching it, I realized that I was right. It really didn't make any attempt to right those wrongs. And in fact, it just went further.
Mm.
But before we really get into the nitty gritty of 3.0 plus 1.0, I want to talk a little bit about an NHK production following the theatrical release of 3.0 plus 1.0 in Japan, where they basically followed Ano and his team at Studio Kara producing 3.0 plus 1.0. And I watched a little bit of it and saw a few screenshots of it when it was translated by a fan subbing community. And I got the impression that the entire team was almost at a complete loss of what even to do with this film. No one really had ideas, and Ano seemed like he was very dead set on not just throwing any old thing out there and making something that he could really be proud of and that everyone could really appreciate. And that sort of made me slightly hopeful if Ano wasn't just going to phone this one in.
Right.
And so I went in with an open mind into 3.0 plus 1.0, and it is miserable.
Oh.
As a conclusion to Evangelion as a series, as a conclusion to the Rebuild series, it is, I think, exactly what most people wanted, but that's exactly why I have to hate it, because it's superficial on every level. It makes no attempt at any point to be its own thing, it throws Evangelion at you, and its supposition of what Evangelion is nothing like what Evangelion the TV series is. You get into the movie and Shinji is just depressed because his boyfriend exploded at the end of 3.0, and he's just mopey and doing his Shinji thing, and they bring back all the characters
Isn't that how End of Eva starts?
It is.
Cool.
And we'll get to that. But Rei is like an alternate Rei because she died and was like a clone in 3.0, and she basically just assumes the role of a poorly written Asimov robot, constantly asking what everything is. She sort of has this character arc throughout the course of the movie where she's trying to be human, and she's interacting with the human settlement that exists in the fallout of the near third impact that takes place at the end of 3.0, which nearly ends the world. But conveniently, the like splinter group of Seal that Misato leads, that goes against Seal's Seal and Nerve's desire to cause the Human Instrumentality Project to succeed for real this time. They're still trying. And Gendo is trying to cause that to happen. Has basically set up like survival fields where you can survive in a little bubble. And Rei is spending a lot of the movie in there just learning about, like working, and she's constantly asking, what's that mean? What's that mean? Like someone will say thank you, and she's like, huh? What's thank you? It's kind of embarrassing to watch just how like stupid she's treated, like a little toddler, and she just like has this stupid sense of wonder the entire time that like just kind of makes you scratch your head at how they came to this. But most egregious, well, second to most egregious, but I kind of don't acknowledge the most egregious, is the way they handled Asuka. So in Evangelion, Asuka was like a characterization of, like an abused child, right?
Yeah.
Like she had such a misunderstanding of her mother's like love for her, and perceiving that she never received love as a child. She's extremely standoffish. She does everything she possibly can to stand out, including and especially, acting in like an untypical of a teenager like sexual manner. She's like, everything she does is deliberately done to make her stand out. Like even the episode where she's introduced has its whole color palette deliberately changed to like blues, so that her like red stands out, and her red robot and like everything is like, just contrast for her character, and it's genius.
It's great.
And she's like a really geniusly handled character. But in 3.0 plus 1.0, she is a sex object.
Oh, cool.
She is depicted constantly scantily clad. I don't think she has pants on through the entire course of the movie. Her typical outfit is a green button-up shirt that she leaves unbuttoned so that you can see both halves of her boobs, and she just wears panties the entire show, and she just spouts Antabaka at Shinji like the entire time and is just mean to him. She's just a mean, sexy girl with an eye patch who, please ignore the fact that she's permanently a teenager.
Wait. I don't know anything about the rebuilds. Can you cover that one for me?
So in 3.0 plus 1, or in 3.0, basically some stupid shit happens to make sure that Rei, Shinji, and Asuka don't grow up. They're permanently kids. And so it's like 20-something years after the events of End of Evangelion, and they're still just kids. And all the character development that they've had in throughout the course of Evangelion and End of Evangelion, and even the third rebuild, makes no fucking sense that the characters are still acting in the way that they do. They betray all sense and semblance of character development, and they are eternally frozen in this approximation of what made them good characters in the original TV series. It's offensive in any manner of the word, and yet I kept up very closely with reviews throughout this past week of what people thought about 3.0 plus 1.0. And as I expected, resoundingly, a lot of people really, really, really love the way this ended, because they were tricked.
How are they tricked?
If you have seen End of Evangelion, you have seen this movie. The only difference is that at the end of this movie, the average person who would have consumed EVA 3.0 plus 1.0 doesn't need to look up End of Evangelion explained.
Oh.
Everything is delivered in such a neat little package. Everything is explicitly told to you what it means. And the end of the movie, the whole climax where Shinji and Gendo are hashing it out, is laden with just nonsensical, sort of gross callbacks to shots from End of Evangelion. There's a fight scene where they're fighting in like a world of memory. So Gendo and Shinji are fighting in their Evas in set pieces from the original Evangelion. And when I say set pieces, I mean set pieces. They'll get thrown through objects, and they're very clearly like just props. They'll get thrown through walls, and then they'll be in like a backstage. And it's just this really stupid series of callbacks. There's like a lot of visual allusions to End of Evangelion that just feel stilted and make not much sense at all. They even do the End of Evangelion shot in a place where it makes absolutely no sense to do. They do the whole thing where Rei's got a big head and Shinji's like, they're in the whole red pool area. Like, the ending of that movie is so bad. And yet I still felt like it had its moments.
Right. So the question I want to ask you, which we're gonna take a break from Eva here while I ask this because it is gonna tie into something that I watched. Is do you think that at this point, in his career, Hideaki Anno is like a good film director? Like the writing of this movie notwithstanding, like what do you think about like his ability to create a movie?
I believe that Hideaki Anno is a genius.
Okay. Because
I think he's one of the most prolific directors of our time, and that does include film and anime and what have you.
Because that is interesting because based on what I have recently watched, I watched 2016's Shin Gojira, which is directed by Hideaki Anno, and that movie is incredible. It is so good. It is it's a stressful, claustrophobic, frightening, just very tense experience that I feel like communicates a lot without ever being necessarily too subtle or too overt. It's a movie about, Japan's history, its place in the world, its culture, its government, its relationship with the United States. It's about so many things, and all of it is done exceptionally well. I loved Shin Godzilla. Like from the very beginning of the movie, you can like see that it's a Hideaki Anno movie. Just like the way that like the camera moves, like the way that like it does like the thing that happens in Evangelion where just like text is on the screen in that like big blocky font like for all the time. And there's like really funny bits too in it. Like the uh the majority of the movie follows these like government officials, these Japanese government officials, as they try to handle the Godzilla crisis. And
Mm-hmm.
their titles and their like positions keep changing, and each time it changes, it like shows their title on the screen with their name like they're being introduced for the first time. And
Yeah.
the I guess the main character, I believe his name is Yaniguchi, his title just keeps getting longer. So like every time every time his name just comes up, it's just longer with a bigger title, and it's very
That's so
funny.
funny.
And it's just like it's one of the things that I appreciated because it's kind of highlighting, I guess his point of like his discussion on like Japanese bureaucracy and like the way that their government works, and uh, you know, just like where it works, where it doesn't work. Like, I just thought it was such a smart movie, and it handles things like extremely delicately. I think, like especially the way the movie talks about like the relationship between Japan and the United States and like the global world at large
Yeah.
is it's it never really swings entirely in one direction because it does describe the way that Japan is kind of like treated by the United States as simultaneously like extremely beneficial, but also like emasculating and demeaning, while also like displaying that the United States in itself doesn't necessarily intend for that to be the case, and that the relationship between the two countries is definitely complex, but it's very hopeful, I think, towards the end of the movie with kind of like US Japan relations, because like one of the main characters is like an American ambassador who's like half Japanese, and she has like this rapport built up with our protagonist, and uh it feels great. And there's just enough Godzilla where like you are genuinely concerned whenever he's like moving, because the way they do destruction in that movie is just so perfectly balanced. Like he never destroys so much that your eyes start glazing over, like it's like Batman v Superman or whatever, where they're just like blowing up buildings every like 3 seconds, but it's like uh, it's just really good. And I watched it, and I was okay at that moment, with Ano deciding he doesn't want to do animation anymore. Because if that's like the kinds of live action movies that he's going to make, I'm all for it. It was a fantastic film. And I was just wondering, like, did you feel any of that awe at his, ability to make film when you were watching this movie that you obviously do have a lot of problems with, but hopefully, like what were your thoughts on just like the aspects of the film aside from, I guess, the story?
Um, Technically, it's sound. I think a lot of it looks less than stellar. Th- there's really not much to write home about. It looks fine for a movie production. It looks fine. Anno's directing style um, didn't really contribute much to me. Most of these shots just annoyed me
Mm,
because they were either deliberately callbacks or weren't that interesting. But in the first half of the movie, when Shinji is basically just sitting there with his face in his knees and like sitting in the ruins of the apartment building that he used to live in and looking out over the ocean, framed in the shot really, really small, I almost feel like it's the Shinji I know, you know?
Mm.
Like, he's back. But then Rei shows up and confesses her undying love for Shinji and then explodes into cum.
Huh?
And then I'm right back.
She does what now?
She explodes into LCL because she can't live outside LCL or some shit. And this event, instead of traumatizing Shinji in the same way that Kaoru did, instead somehow spurs him to action to grow up and stop his father from doing a human instrumentality project.
Oh. Huh.
It's stupid. And every time I thought and was in awe of something in the movie, it was ruined almost immediately.
Mm.
And there were no significant length of time where I could enjoy myself watching it because it was an affront to the Evangelion TV show. It's nothing but a superficial approximation of what that show was, of what its themes were, of what it meant, of what its characters meant. It disrespects itself on every level and disrespects the audience, and it takes the easiest possible route at every turn. I felt like I was watching a Makoto Shinkai film the entire time,
Oh.
but it was an Ono production. It probably wouldn't have pissed me off this much if it wasn't Evangelion, if it wasn't Ono. But I think that there was no way for this film to be good. You you made End of Evangelion and it wasn't called that for no reason.
Yeah, no, that's what I always say. Like, my justification for not watching the rebuilds is like, they called it End of Evangelion, not Middle of Evangelion, all right? Like, I don't know. I just never felt a motivation to consume this, like, what I perceived as a completely secondary piece of, like, Evangelion content because I considered the story fully complete. I considered it done. Now, teacher, I'm raising my hand and I would like you to call on me in class because I want to ask, what is the point of Mari?
I'm extremely glad that you brought it up because I have been dying to talk about it and was just about to.
Okay. Well, go
Because
ahead.
I was saving this for last because Mari is the most offensive thing about that movie that I alluded to earlier when I was talking about Asuka.
Mm.
Mari is a stupid fucking character. She's just there. She's there to pilot an Eva. The depth of her character is completely non-existent. She walks around the entire movie being flirtatious with Shinji and being just obsessed with the concept of Shinji, much like every other female character in the show, which is another reason that I called Asuka and Rei like sex objects earlier, because that's how they're treated in the show. All three of these girls are obsessed with Shinji. And the other thing that Mari does is she affixes nya to like all of her sentences, and she walks around and she calls Asuka Hime-sama, and she's like obsessed with Asuka too. She is this obscene, nonsensical fan service character who doesn't do anything. She has a lot of narrative importance in specifically this movie for no reason, despite being afforded no character depth, no character expansion. We don't know where she comes from. We don't know what her purpose is. She doesn't have a character in this movie, and she hasn't even attempted to give one. They didn't even want to try because they knew there was nothing there. But when all said and done, when Shinji has saved the world from the human instrumentality project once and for all, and has grown up into an adult because he saw Rei's clone die after telling him that she loved him for
Mm.
some reason, and that was the thing that made Shinji become an adult. And everyone's like, "Now you're an adult, Shinji," despite the fact that 45 minutes earlier he was um, just like catatonic and not moving and not responding to anything and rejecting the world around him, and no significant event really sensibly changed his mind about this. But hey, Ray died in front of him, so now the movie can move on because that's how stories are written.
Uh-huh.
And at the end of the movie, all said and done, Shinji has basically like remade the world without Evas.
Okay, so kind of like end of Evangelion.
Kind of like end of Evangelion. You might notice a little bit of a trend, but
Okay.
they're in a train station. Shinji's just sitting on a bench. At the other side of the train station, you can see uh, Asuka talking to a character. I don't remember specifically who. It might have been like Misato's like Misato's like son that she had with Kaji or whatever before that guy died in 3.0.
Oh.
RIP. And then Rei is talking to Kaoru and Shinji's just alone on this bench. And then into the frame comes Mari.
Oh yes, dude.
And she approaches Shinji and she says to him something to the effect of, "Let's go home, honey."
Cool. That's awesome.
And my brain sort of broke for a while. I sort of sat there processing the entire movie and how not good it was and how it just did that to me. How it just made Mari like the Shinji love character, despite the fact that I hate her so. I hate her so very much.
Uh-huh.
And she's such a shit character in every sense of the word.
Uh-huh.
And I, I did a Google search. I looked up Hideaki Anno wife to see if maybe, just maybe Mari looks like his wife. No, they just did that.
Oh. So it's not like a self-insert thing at all.
No.
Okay.
And that's the weird part because TV Evangelion, the whole show is like a self-insert of Anno's mind. It's the closest thing I've ever felt to feeling like I'm inside of someone else's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like every character is like just an aspect of his mind. There's just so many cool like little character moments and things that feel so deeply personal and introspective and so cool. There's like, man, it's just so good. Evangelion is so perfect. And 3.0 and the rebuilds are just pandering. They're Evangelion for the people who never really took the time to think about what it meant. And that's just really sad.
Wow. You know, my greatest fear now is that one day I'm going to watch the rebuilds. And what if I like them?
I don't think you should worry about that. I think, well, what in your mind do you like about Evangelion, the TV series, and End of Evangelion?
Well,
What are the aspects that really stand out to you?
I don't know. Like I like Eva because it's just like I don't know, it just makes me feel emotions. Like it makes me feel uh it makes me feel like I understand like you know the problems that these characters have and that like it's communicating humanity to me. That's what I like about Evangelion is that it's like any good piece of art, it communicates the fact that it was made by a person with a soul.
You won't have to worry about liking the rebuilds.
Oh.
They that's the perfect way to describe them. They don't have a soul. It's like your favorite chef serving you unsalted crackers.
Mm.
There's just nothing there. You can't feel love. You can't feel humanity. You can't feel any deeper desire to create something. It's just there.
Well, that's sad.
It doesn't
But
say anything. It doesn't mean anything. It mischaracterizes all of its characters, and it's superficial to its very core. But I also think it had to be this way.
I think I get that. I think I get what you mean, because I have heard and I have seen several quotes floating around from Ano where he gets there's one in particular where he gets asked if he feels anything about Evangelion, and he says that he doesn't. And
Yeah, I don't know how you could. You've
I've
done everything you've wanted to do.
Yeah, that's what I think. You know, if your assertion here is true, which I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt for now and assume that it is, that the rebuilds are kind of just this hollow product made out of obligation to keep making Eva, then maybe it's like when you go to therapy and you like work through like a traumatic memory, when you're done working through that memory with therapy, like you don't feel connected to it anymore. You don't feel like it is a part of you anymore, which for trauma is obviously good. But maybe if this is the case, perhaps Evangelion was something that Ano was creating as an expression of his feelings and his emotions and his thoughts, and maybe now those his life has progressed in such a way where that is not a part of himself that he's able to connect to in the same way anymore.
I think that's fair.
Again, assuming that how you feel about this is right. That's kind of like my guess as to why that might be, and I don't think it's his fault. I think
I don't either.
I think obviously if he thought it was the best idea to keep making Eva for whatever reason, then that's like fine. But sometimes it's okay to not care about a series past a certain point, and I don't necessarily have a lot of motivation now that they're over to watch the rebuilds. So it doesn't make Eva any worse for me.
No,
So,
it doesn't make it worse for me. It's just sad that this is the last thing we're getting.
Well, I don't even think necessarily it's the last thing we're getting, right? Because
We might do a spin-off, but
wasn't Studio Kara basically like created for the purpose of like opening up the possibility of other Eva projects, and Ano has said that he wants Eva to be something bigger, maybe something less, tied into himself. I don't know. Maybe there will someday be more Eva content. Maybe it'll be good. So
maybe.
Who knows? Is there anything else you wanted to share about Eva or your thoughts on Eva, the rebuilds in particular, or anything like that? Or because you covered a lot of ground here.
I think I got it all.
Okay. Good talk.
I love Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I kind of want to rewatch it.
They did rewatch it.
Ooh, news actually. They did announce like a big like complete NGE like Blu-ray box set.
Ooh.
So if you do want, I think it's like $260 though. But if you do want to, hey, it's coming out.
Coming out.
Yeah,
check it out.
I think that does it for this week. I think it does. A little bit of a long one. Yeah, we were actually no.
What's the length on this one?
We've only been an hour and 10. It felt so much longer, I guess, because we were on one topic for like the whole time. But yeah, that was good.
We didn't have any news or nothing. A short one. I thought this was gonna be a long one.
Yeah. All right. See you next week, everybody. Bye.
See you fucking next week. Hopefully, my life is way better.